Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for attending this technology press conference on Market Street. I think it's all part of the ritual, the initiation for the new CIO. So when I got interviewed by the city administrator Naomi Kelly and Mayor Lee, they warned me that as part of my probation, there was, like, in the pure tradition of the 12 labors of Hercules, it would be like 12 tasks and to accomplish, and the first one would be the easiest one. So I would like you to join me, welcome our very demanding and very inspiring Mayor of San Francisco, Mayor Lee, who's going to tell you more about what the first task of those 12 is, and it had to be completed before the end of the year. Mayor Lee?
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Well, you just met Mark Tuitu. He's our new CIO for our Department of Technology, and he is already proving himself to be a hard worker. We tasked him with showing us what he can do in a very short period of time. And it's remarkable. I want to thank Supervisor Wiener and certainly Board President David Chu for working closely with Naomi Kelly, with Police Department, with our Public Works Department, our Department of our Municipal Railway, and other agencies in the city. And you know, the ability to present a internet connectivity, wireless ability along Market Street has been very important to me because it is part of what we were trying to do on the whole of Market Street. And so today is, of course, announcing that the Department of Technology has been able to complete this with a very special partner, Ruckus Wireless. And I know Selena Lowe is here today. I want to personally thank her for providing the professional guidance, the hardware, as well as the good technical advice to the Department of Technology, along with all the other partners that you see behind me working together to collaborate on this. So as of today, we have wireless technology free to the public, also not filtered. You can use it anonymously. Even Mr. Snowden, when he returns back to the United States, he can use it without any trepidation. But all along from here all the way to the ferry building, probably about the length of Kaepernick Pass to Vernon Davis, as the whole of Market Street will be, and it's all of its plazas, streets and sidewalks will be open to this free internet and wireless accessibility. Why is this important? Well, Market Street is such an important thoroughfare for the city of San Francisco. And not only have I focused on it for its revitalization from an economic viewpoint, not only are there lots of people that are going to be additional residents living on it, and more people shopping along it and eating and enjoying themselves, but now they have this free internet access to be usable to it. But it also is because it's such a diverse city use. You know, it's over 250,000 people walk this corridor on an everyday basis. It has a huge diversity of population. It has small businesses, large businesses, tech as well as financial, as well as restaurants all along the way, established and new. And so we wanted to signal this was part of that revitalization. And I know Supervisor Wiener is very happy with this because he, along with Supervisor Chu, have been pushing us to do more in technology to help with communities of different diverse backgrounds. And this rollout is a demonstration of what we can do in a major corridor. We have a vision that other corridors in other of our diverse communities can also benefit similarly as this will be. And again, it's the right way of doing it. It is the kind of public-private partnership that we've been seeking with companies like Ruckus Wireless to help with us. DT will be maintaining it from here on to make sure it is accessible to everybody. And like I said earlier, it is one that we will keep Market Street as something that Department of Technology, on behalf of the city, would like to do for its residents, for its businesses, to allow them to have that access. So, what are other candidates? Well, certainly our school district. We already have about 27 public libraries have already been wired up. And as you heard several months ago, we had a partnership with Google to wire up 31 of our public parks. City Hall, along with Legion of Honor, Laguna Honda, the Young Museum are already wired up, and we have more to do. We want to update potentially our public housing sites as well to provide access again to people who couldn't afford to do this on their own. And that's reflective of some of the values that we have. Equity is important. Making accessibility to everybody in the city is important to us as we roll out more and more of what I think is the connectivity for our future. Now, having said this, I also want you to know that last year we signaled that our city would join on a national movement, and when the FCC gave a megabit challenge to the rest of the cities. I happen to be the head of the task force on innovation and technology for the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and we signaled our support for that challenge and also signaled our support for broadband and more interconnectivity for all the cities throughout the country. And we want to do this for every neighborhood as fast as we can because this will help education-wise, it'll help small business-wise, and the more free and affordable it is, it will definitely help a lot of our communities of different economic levels to be connected so that they can be part of the 21st century. And then as we get the education and the unions involved, this will definitely help our job skills, particularly for our kids in the future. And so I want to thank the Department of Technology for their leadership on this. I want to thank all the different agencies that have worked together to produce this, our police department as well, because I know that they'll make a great use of this and working collaboratively with our transportation. But I know that we want to do more, and this is where I continue to join the efforts of Supervisor Wiener and certainly Board President David Chu on this effort. So, Mark, you've done a great job starting us out. Keep going with not only Market Street, we have other corridors of the city to connect up and make sure everybody becomes part of the 21st century. This is the innovation capital where we want to bring it to everyone, and especially with an emphasis on those communities that need this and want to be part of the 21st century. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Lee. And now I would like to introduce somebody who's been a friend of technology at least ever since I started, and who is thinking out of the box to try to help us simplify and accelerate. President of Supervisors David Chu, please.
Thank you, Mark. Happy holidays. I am so excited about what we're doing today, in part because when I first ran for office in 2008, I told my constituents that the vision of having free muni in San Francisco was one I wanted to see happen. And I actually had a number of conversations with former Mayor Gavin Newsom, who some of you may remember tried to move this forward. And I really want to thank and commend our current mayor, Mayor Lee, and his city agencies for working with us, my colleagues here on the board with Supervisor Wiener and myself representing Market Street, for really moving forward to get this done. I also want to take a note and mention that the current head of the Department of Technology is actually the fourth chief of DT who I have spoken to about getting this done. And so Mark 2E2, I'm not sure how you managed to do it in your first 6 months, but congratulations for what you've been able to do. And I want to mention that this weekend we had hundreds of folks who were dressed in Santa Claus outfits who were running around here in the Castro. But I have to hand it to Ruckus and Selena and Layer 42 because you were really the folks who delivered Santa's gifts to us today and your contribution to the city and really helping to make this vision a reality. In the 20th century, access to roads, electricity, and water was how communities and cities succeed. In the 21st century, it's access to broadband. We know this. And we also know that the United States, we're actually not leading the way. We're not even one of the top 10 countries in the world when it comes to highest speed broadband. And as Mayor Lee alluded to, we have a challenge as a city, as the innovation capital of the world. We really need to lead the way in making sure we are wiring our entire city to have the fastest and most accessible broadband. We know this is good for our economy, we know this is good for education, we know this is good for healthcare, and in particular, we know this is good for digital inclusion in making sure that everyone gets to succeed here in our city. I have two visions, though, beyond where we are. First and foremost has to do with Market. And I know Mayor Lee shares this, and many of us share a vision of Market Street, where we are bringing community. It's not just about congestion on our roads, but we want to see a huge number of San Franciscans spend time on Market Street, up and down from the Castro to the Ferry Building, spending time in cafes, spending time shopping, spending time playing games, spending time just enjoying what it is to be a San Franciscan on what ought to be and what will be the most amazing thoroughfare on the West Coast. But I have a different vision that I've discussed with Mayor Lee and with Mark Tuitu, which is it shouldn't just be Market Street that's wired. Every street in San Francisco someday ought to be like Market Street. We've had a vision for years of a municipal fiber network that brings Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi to all of our communities. I have a piece of legislation that hopefully we will be considering at our Board of Supervisors shortly that would establish what is known as a dig once policy, so that if we need to do renovations on our streets, to dig up our sewers, or to otherwise repair our roads, we would put in the infrastructure to make sure that we are wiring every corner of our city, every street in our city, so that every household, every resident can succeed. And I look forward to working with our mayor on this, with Supervisor Wiener, our wonderful department heads, and of course the men and women of DT and all of our city departments and the private sector. So happy holidays. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, David. Now I would like to invite the supervisor of this beautiful district, Scott Wiener.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and welcome everyone to District 8, which I have the honor of representing, and welcome in particular. I'm really thrilled that this project includes Upper Market, which is sometimes the forgotten part of Market Street. We see a lot of projects that focus east of Octavia, but we know that Upper Market, this is a very thriving part of Market Street, and I'm thrilled that this initial rollout of free Wi-Fi will extend all the way into the Castro from the Ferry Building. We are really seeing a renaissance in San Francisco of public space, of having new and great and better public spaces, and we're standing right now in Jane Warner Plaza, which was the very first of the Pavement to Parks program that began about 4 years ago, where we decided to really start creating new plazas and having new public spaces. And this plaza has been incredibly successful in the Castro, and having free Wi-Fi here in this public space and other public spaces and in our parks is an incredibly important part to making sure that people can use these public spaces, and that people can congregate here, and that people can get work done here and read the paper or whatever else they want to do. So I'm just really thrilled. I think it's really great that we are actually celebrating here in Jane Warner Plaza. I also just want to make a plug that next year we're going to be widening the sidewalks on Castro Street as part of our strategy to keep improving these public spaces. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to everyone who made this happen, and Mark, congratulations on the great work.
Thank you, Scott. And now I would like to invite the technology visionary that helped us accomplish this corridor, Selena Lowe from Ruckus. Please join me.
Good morning. Ruckus is honored to have been selected by the City of San Francisco as the technology foundation for this milestone launch of Wi-Fi along one of the most beautiful and famous thoroughfare in the world. I want to personally thank Mark and his team for the support and collaboration that we enjoy in putting this, in designing and implementing this network in record time. And the launch of this service, as Mayor Lee said, is just the beginning, and we are really, really excited by the opportunity. At Ruckus, we share a vision with the City of San Francisco for a reliable Wi-Fi utility that provides not only free public access, but also can serve as a economic stimulus for private and public online services. We believe this project will become a model for cities everywhere in the world. Today, we are turning that vision into reality. The mobile internet has changed everything in our lives. Anyone with a smartphone can tell you that Wi-Fi has become their preferred way of connecting to the internet. We all use Wi-Fi daily, perhaps hourly, perhaps constantly. Wi-Fi access is now viewed as a utility, just like power and water. And therefore, like power and water, it has to be reliable, pervasive, and fast. That's where Ruckus come in. Ruckus is a solution provider for carrier-class Wi-Fi services and equipment. We have Wi-Fi networks deployed in many public urban areas, including New York, LA, Shanghai, Beijing, Hong Kong, Tokyo, London, Paris, etc. And now having San Francisco select Ruckus for this challenging high-density Wi-Fi environment along Market Street is really another level of achievement for us. Our technology is specialized in dealing with high capacity, broad coverage, challenging environment, public environment that includes foliage, buildings, as well as lots of interference. We have unique technology to address that, and we are very confident that we will deliver a great service for the citizens of San Francisco and visitors to San Francisco. At Ruckus, we're excited at the prospects and opportunities of this initiative that will bring the millions of residents, businesses, as well as visitors, Wi-Fi access, as well as new online services to the great city of San Francisco. Thank you. Thanks.
Well, before we ask the mayor to officially activate symbolically with this big switch, be careful, mayor. I want to acknowledge the people that made that that access possible. And there's one thing that I realized in the last 6 months is that the number of players, the level of collaboration and partnership, of even complicity between players, were really the key to make this a reality before the end of the year. So. Not necessarily in order of importance, but I'll tell you, first of all, I have to thank my boss, Naomi Kelly, who's been believing since the first second that this would happen. It's good. Now I can say it's good because it's done. Harlan Kelly from the PUC, we get the power from the PUC. We had a special partnership with MTA, Ed Riskin's people. And I want to particularly acknowledge Lauren Green from MTA, who's been really fantastic. Bill Sanders from the city attorney. Of course, the whole team from Selena, can't name them all, but Sean Bourgogne and your founder and CTO, Victor, has been absolutely phenomenal. Of course, we've got here our friend and CEO of Layer 42, Derek Garnier, who has given us a dedicated 1 gig line to the internet just for Market Street, so it's pure, and it makes a difference for the performance. And of course, in the Department of Technology, I cannot not stop and acknowledge our new CTO, Flavio Aggio, Mike McCarthy, who's been our Wi-Fi guru and pusher for years. Joseph John, who leads the Department of Technology Public Safety group with Mike Denning, Joe Molinari, John Marion, of course our technology people from Matt Reeves, Glacier, Ibanez, and Brian Roberts, and so many more. But it's time to enjoy this great Wi-Fi on Marcus Street, and now we can relax a little bit, guys. You've done it. Okay, so please join me now. Mayor, I would like you to activate the power on Wi-Fi Market Street.
Now, I know what you're all thinking. So we're gonna put this back at Candlestick Park afterwards so the lights go on next Monday, okay? Just as soon as we do this.
Do it.
5, 4,
3, 2, 1.
It's on, right?
It's on now.
Your smartphones can use it. Yeah. Thank you again.